We want to wish you a very pleasant good morning once again, everybody. I've got a real treat for you, I think, coming up here next, because I have three gentlemen that surprised me this morning. I think most of you know this is my final day of broadcasting here at KIFG, and three characters. I told them to lock the door, and this is what happens when you let them in. Tim Sylvie is standing beside me, along with Sheldon Reno, and way back there in the corner, I can hardly see him, Mike Ingebrigtsen. Three guys that I've spent a lot of hours in a vehicle going to a game or coming back, and you know, it's amazing the wisdom you pick up from these three. It isn't just the on-the-air stuff that you pick up, the tidbits. It's the ride there and back that's just immense amounts of wisdom and insight. And people think you guys are color commentary, and that's all you do is just, no, you know stuff about lots of stuff.
Yeah, I've given you... Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I want to make sure I'm on the air, properly on the air.
Yeah.
I don't want you people just to be able to hear you and not be able to hear me the way it was when we did football. People used to ask me after the games, were you on last night? I said, yeah, I was screaming into the microphone. TJ keeps me turned way down.
Well,
yeah, there were lots of tidbits of information.
Mike was the one that broke me in as far as turning it down.
Yeah.
You know, his classic line is, "I'm down on my knees and I'm begging."
Yeah.
The championship football game, and he was literally on his knees begging for that game to the clock to run out.
You know, we talked about it, and we just couldn't let today go by without stopping in and giving our final farewell to you. You know, it's I don't know how many years you've been doing this. Any idea?
You know, I really don't. I mean, it started when I was like 17.
17.
And you know, there have been bouts. I mean, there's several years in a row, and then we went to Waterloo, and I was on a station over there, and then came back for a few years, and then got involved in the play-by-play. I think the last stint with KIFG began in '93 with Todd Studer doing what you guys did, the color commentary.
Well, you know, mostly what I did with you was football. I know Sheldon here was mostly basketball, some other stuff. Mike did everything with you. He did basketball, volleyball. In all the years, I wanted to ask you if you could put your finger on maybe your favorite memory from all the games that you called. There's only been about 20,000. Yeah,
there's literally been thousands of games. I think my favorite memory happened on the volleyball court up in Algona. That was a year, that was before we did rally scoring, and so you had to earn every point. So you had to have a side out before you could score. And Algona had drilled us during the regular season. They owned the conference title, which was unusual because that day Iowa Falls was just winning conference title after conference title. And Algona had turned the tables, had a great team. We had to go to their place in the district finals, the game that decided the sub-state game. And to say it was a back-and-forth battle was an incredible understatement. It went to rally scoring, back and forth kind of a thing, and when it was all said and done, the cadets' hands were raised high. But the thing that I remember about that is that Mike and I did that game. It absolutely wore me out. I have never been so totally exhausted after a game because there's so much emotion. So much riding on every single touch of the volleyball. And then when it was all done, it sucked the air out of the Algona.
Yeah, it was a little quiet. I remember seeing the video of it, and
they were just shocked.
Our fans and our kids are just going crazy, and the Algona fans can't do anything but just sit there and watch us celebrate on their floor. You remember it, Mike?
Oh, yes, very, very well. Because the thing I probably remember about it as much is that I think 4 of the 5 games went rally scoring.
Yeah.
And you had to have side out, and it went on and on. Plus, it's the sub-state finals. Winner goes to state. And I remember when I got back, there was a lady that said that she was looking out the window listening to the ball game, and the lady was in the car with her head on the dash thinking, what's going on? So she says, commercial time, I ran out there, and she says, I can't take this much more, listening to this ball game. But no, I was exhausted too when we got done with that game, listening to you.
I get that a lot.
Well, I know you were part of a lot of championship calls too. I mean, in the '90s, we were almost nicknamed Titletown around here. You called a lot of things, including the baseball championship in '98, volleyball and basketball both in '99, basketball in '98. You and Mike were down at the barn when they were still playing there, and then of course the big one, the football championship in '96. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was like I was saying.
That's Mike's favorite memory.
Well, and that is the reference that I made earlier is that his classic line is, "I'm down on my knees and I'm begging." He was begging for a first down so that we could run out the clock, and Mike and I remember way back before we were starting to make that charge towards the championship years. We were starting to really show up in the postseason, going deep into the postseason, not just in football, but in basketball and some other sports. And I remember coming back from one of the games, Mike saying, what do you got to do to win a state championship? How good do you got to be? Yeah. And we went for a long, long time, and then finally that breakthrough with the football team, that's what a state champion looks like. That's what it looks like. And then from there on in, it's been fun because other people are saying, well, we've got a really good team. We're really, well, you may be good, but maybe not a state championship. And it wasn't just Iowa Falls. In those years, they were falling out of the trees here in Hardin County. Yeah. I mean.
And Sheldon, you remember the great basketball years. Of course, you weren't calling then. You were on the bench with some of the best players that this area has ever seen and probably ever will see. Your memories about some of that basketball stuff?
Well, those were phenomenal years, and moving to the community and then getting an opportunity to jump right in and coach with Dave Collison, and of course that bunch of kids that we had. It was just a phenomenal time. Memories that I'll never forget. And actually, one of my vivid memories probably happened up at Algona too, when we went up there and Nick had broke his wrist. Yep. And Algona had a really solid team, and we really didn't know who was going to fill in or what was going to happen. And we had a pretty good streak going at that time. And I remember talking to the big unit, Dave Collison, on the bus on the way up, and we were all pretty nervous, but we had some kids that stepped up huge in that game, and it just showed a lot of character on their part, and how close those guys really, really were as a team.
Prentice had 33 points in that game, and we won 75-71, and it was an incredible thing
Phenomenal.
to me. And we really kind of escaped because it really, going down the stretch, it looked like we were kind of in trouble, and Prentice Lofstad just took over.
I'll never forget that. I could hear a fan scream out from Algona, "Guard the tall guy."
That's always good advice in basketball.
I'm thinking, really, that's the best you got is guard the tall guy. Yeah. And there were several tall guys. Yeah. Which one?
Yeah. And we knew Prentice was really, really good. He was kind of one of those quiet guys that really just assumed his role when he needed to.
Yeah.
And when he needed to that night, he came up huge.
Yeah. So many memories. And So, and it isn't just the sports. I was telling somebody the other day, guys, that, it really is about the listening audience, too, because without people listening in, there really isn't a point to radio, and if you lose track of who you're talking to every single morning, you miss an incredible opportunity to communicate. Yeah. And that's what I've tried to do, is connect with folks over the years and realizing that, they're eating breakfast, they're having their first cup of coffee, checking in for news, whatever, busily getting on with their day or whatever the case may be. And so you try to remember that you're serving the Greenbelt with Greenbelt area news, the best place on the planet, and you try to do your best to give them those kinds of things. And so, that's what I remember most, is the kind words. I had a phone call this morning from a loyal listener, and, you guys, you really need to knock this off, this farewell thing. It's not like I'm dead, I'm not dying, and I'm not
It's just a nice tribute to you, TJ, as far as, it didn't matter where I went in the community after a ball game the next day or whatever. Hey, we heard the game on the radio last night, and we really enjoyed it. And it didn't matter if it was a blowout game or whatever. It was still entertaining to the people that listened. And I think you came across as one of those guys that even during a game that maybe wasn't quite as close as it should have been or whatever, you made the broadcast really fun to listen to.
There was a team from Belmont that didn't think so.
I remember. We probably shouldn't bring that up. We might get another call from
when you talked about the listening audience. I can remember one time I got a letter from a guy from Connecticut that said
I didn't know we went that far.
he would call his mother on Friday nights to talk to her because she was home. And while we had all those good teams, that his mother said, don't call me anymore at this time because I want to listen to the ball game with Mike and TJ.
I thought you were going to say she wanted to hold the phone up to the radio so he could listen from Connecticut.
So he wrote me a note saying that she paid no attention to sports when he was playing. He doesn't know why she's listening now, but it was something that everybody did, was listening to those ball games with you calling them, because of the athletes that we had and all those things.
There's a lot of things that make it happen.
It made it fun, TJ.
Yeah, really.
Memories I'll never forget.
Yeah. Ditto.
Well, look, I know we don't have an unlimited amount of time. We came with a little gift, and I think maybe this says a little bit about, and hopefully I can get through reading this. I wrote it. I should be able to get it. It says it's a plaque. It's in glass, so be careful not to drop it. It says, presented to TJ Norman for countless hours of broadcast excellence, serving the people of Iowa Falls and the Greenbelt area. Your genuine loyalty to all the local teams was exceeded only by your kind and encouraging words. There will never be another play-by-play broadcaster who will freely give so much and selflessly expect so little in return. Your reward will be your memories of the great young athletes you covered and your unique ability to recreate their accomplishments from inside our radios. And for that, you will always be known by those you served as the voice of the Cadets.
And I'll suck at that.
June 27th, 2014.
Well, thank you guys.
Gotcha.
This is the part I didn't want to go to. I appreciate that. That'll have a place of honor.
I hope so.
I'll never forget that. Thank you very, very much, guys. I appreciate it so much. And thanks for sitting
Honestly,
alongside.
TJ, we really appreciate you and your countless hours. And I know firsthand the time commitment, and you don't always recoup that in pay. And you had a love and a passion for what you did.
No question.
And it came out through the radio.
No question.
Well, thank you very, very much. I truly, truly appreciate it.
So
And the good news is that I'm not moving anywhere, so I'll see you guys, I'll see your ugly mugs over and over and over again, and I am so grateful and so thankful to have the three of you in my life, and the listeners over the years, and all of the other people that have made all of this possible. You mentioned the high points. You know, I had the privilege of being the voice of a lot of hard work, of things that happen behind the scenes, and the countless hours, the athletes and the coaches and the ADs and you guys devoting your time and your effort to this, and the people here at the radio station that make this possible as well. So, you know, while a lot of times that's the person you either see in front of the camera or behind the microphone, that's the one you listen to, there's a lot of people that make that possible, and I'm very mindful of that and very appreciative as well, too. So.
Well, I guess we're going to get out of your hair. I didn't know we were going to be on a strict time schedule. We just didn't want this day to go by without you knowing how we felt about it.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. This, like I said, this is something that I'll treasure for the rest of my life, and it'll have a place of honor. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, TJ.
With that, I'm going to try to take another look at the weather forecast, because that's what we do. The forecast brought your way by Dale Howard Incorporated, where the action is.
Get once-a-century savings during the Dodge 100-year event at Dale Howard's in Iowa Falls. This includes the 2014 Dodge Avenger at Dale Howard's. It has 18 chrome clad wheels, redline red two-coat paint.
Listening, and I appreciate you, the listeners, and some of you have shared some memories with me, and I really do appreciate those and those well wishes. A lot of you have wondered, okay, what's next, DJ? You're too young to retire. Well, that's a matter of opinion. I guess you're as young as you feel. No, I'm not retiring. I do have a lot in my heart to do and to accomplish. I love Iowa Falls, obviously. You guys know that. And it isn't just Iowa Falls. I grew up in Geneva. I love this area. I love this in Bradford. Those are two of my favorite places on the planet. And you know what? We're not going anywhere. Lori and I, plan on, growing old right here in the Greenbelt area. So we're not moving. Most of you know that I am involved, and I'm the pastor of the First Christian Church. And, over the years, that has been a huge part of my life. The ministry has been really since I was about mid-20s. And I tried to incorporate radio and the ministry at a season in my life in a radio station over in the Waterloo Cedar Falls area, Christian radio station. And that experience showed me something that maybe I didn't really totally appreciate or understand. And that is the magic of radio, the incredible power of being able to go where people are, regardless of what's happening in their day, and minister something good, something positive, something, and in my case, it's the gospel of Jesus Christ, to try to impact somebody's life positively. And I intend to continue to do that. I will be pastoring with all of my heart at the First Christian Church, and some of you listen to our broadcast on Sunday mornings, and I appreciate that. If you've not listened and you didn't know there was a program on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock, there you go. You can, I still intend to broadcast, so I guess I'm not technically totally leaving KIFG. I'll still be heard on Sunday mornings, and that is the thing that I really appreciate about radio, because like I said, that experience over in Waterloo again showed me that there are real live human beings on the other end of the radio. And when you combine that opportunity of going into somebody's car or their living room or their kitchen or wherever they're at, their workplace, and you have the opportunity to either entertain them with a song that they appreciate, or a few words of encouragement or something to think about, you've done a really good thing. And that is afforded to me by this medium, radio. And so I've appreciated it. I've been mesmerized by radio since I was, can remember. Some of you that graduated the same time I did, you may remember an old dance when I was, I think 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. I invited a few classmates to Bradford to the town hall, and really what I really wanted to do, I just loved playing music for people. I just loved doing that, picking out the songs that I felt like they'd love and they really appreciate and like. And so that started very, very young. I think that's really where the radio, the desire to do radio, came about. It was playing music at a dance. Now that particular dance is one that's, it was one for the memory books. It's the legend, the Bradford party. Anyway, we won't go there into specifics, but those were the kinds of things that have been a part of what I've done. And so from the very early age, I've always wanted to do that. And certainly, like I said, Jack Weitzel and Jim Starr gave me that opportunity as a teenager. I got an opportunity to learn about radio, how it works, and how to do it. And I basically learned by listening to other announcers and tried to emulate them, and was mentored by other guys that I really liked on the radio. And so somewhat self-taught, but I don't think anybody's really self-taught. You'll learn from the people that God puts in your life. And so those things, and then making that step to contemporary Christian radio, that was very important to me as well, because again, I began to really truly understand that there's a human being on the other end of that microphone that's listening in, that has had all kinds of things happen in their day. And so I learned to really appreciate that. And the point I'm trying to make here this morning is that, again, I appreciate the fact that you, the listeners, have listened in over the years. I've tried to do my best to keep that in mind, that without listeners, there really isn't any point in radio. And I've tried to listen to you. I've tried to do my very best to serve you. And I am blessed that some of you have appreciated that, and I'm grateful. I need to do the weather in a big hurry here. Didn't think this was going to be this difficult. The weather forecast. Maybe it's coming up next, brought your way by Dale Howard Incorporated very early this morning. And that's going to do it. That's the end. Good morning, everybody. And until next time, God bless. A local news update up next.
It's time now for an update of your local news on KIF.